What was your "I can't believe that worked" moment? I was running very late to school one morning and pulled into the parking lot where I saw a classmate who was in the same boat. On our way to class, we were discussing what sort of excuse we could make to not get a demerit. We discussed that, to be fair, there was some police activity out on the main road to school. I don't know who joked and said we should tell her that there was a naked man running across the road, but I foolishly thought it was one of those stories so audacious that there was no choice but to believe it if told correctly and with conviction. I burst into the classroom out of breath and went into this long winding story about a naked man running up, down, and across the road, and how police were trying to catch him and held up traffic. I was somewhat of a mischievous youth, so my teacher was unconvinced until my classmate, on cue, walked in and said very calmly, "Did you guys see that naked guy on the street?" I think it's the first time I saw that teacher laugh. Whether she believed us or just a gall of it all, she told us to take a seat. No demerits. I was at the cafeteria at college with a buddy. He was having a bad weekend for whatever reason. I saw this attractive girl across the room and asked him what he thought. He was like, "Yeah, cute." So I made up my mind. I'd go over, hit on her out of fucking nowhere, and presumably he could have a laugh at my inevitable rejection. I was half drunk, reeked like cigarettes, and wearing sweatpants. It was a slam dunk of rejection. I told him I was gonna go say hi, and he shook his head in disbelief, as this is way out of character for me. I am shy and awkward for the most part. And no, not attractive. Yeah. Me and said girl have a house and a baby now. It wasn't even supposed to work. Whoa, she totally pranked you. Judging by the fact that they have a baby, I would say the prank went sexual. In high school, I became overly frustrated with my increasingly struggling PS2. It wouldn't read the disc sometimes and it was only getting worse. Threw it down the stairs. It worked perfectly for a few years after that. I still think that should not have worked. I have a friend who opened up his Xbox 360 to see if he could fix its red ring of death. He cut himself on some sheet metal from the chassis and bled all over the motherboard. He gave up, put this box back together, and lo and behold, the thing booted up perfectly. Just needed a blood sacrifice. I once had a math test in high school that I knew I was totally going to flub. I was normally a really good student and did well at math, but today wasn't my day. The test questions were all on one sheet, and we were instructed to use blank pages to write our answers. I sat during the whole test just doodling on the blank pages. At the end, I put my name on the question sheet and folded over the corner, as if there were other sheets with it, and put it on the pile and walked out. At the next class, the teacher pulled me aside and profusely apologized because she lost my answers. She said she'd just leave it out of my overall class score for the semester. I couldn't believe that worked. I went to a private college prep high school for the first 3 years. I don't really recall why I looked into this, but I found out that if all my credits transferred to public school, I'd technically only need 2 more classes to be eligible to graduate. Checked into it further and found out that you can't really just go to 2 classes and leave unless of course you enroll in the work exit program. Got myself a part-time job and transferred schools. My senior year was 1 semester long, went to school for 2 hours a day, and worked until my friends got out of class. It was incredible. I still can't believe it all worked out. When I was 18 and visiting my 19-year-old girlfriend, who was home for the weekend from college, her father came home unexpectedly. We were not wearing clothes. My first thought was to hide under the bed, but I thought better of it and jumped in the closet. She tossed my clothes in after me and threw on a bathrobe. I was in that closet for hours while she chatted with her father, made some sandwiches, handed one to me in the closet, and washed clothes. While she was getting her clothes out of the dryer, her father came into her room as I watched from the half-inch opening. It was a sliding door. I guess he was making sure she had packed everything for her return trip to college, because while he was in there he looked under the bed. I was trying to use GD mind powers to make myself invisible in case he opened the closet door, but he didn't. Before they left, she packed a backpack for me since I had no car and would be hoofing it to the nearest mall to call a friend on a payphone to pick me up. This was in the 80s. They took off, and about 15 minutes after they left, I did too. Seriously can't believe I didn't get busted. After a long night I realized I had spent, drank, my last 20 pounds and so couldn't afford the train fare home. Decided to try the ATM anyway. Put in my PIN and tried to withdraw cash. ATM threw an error code, then gave me 20 pounds. That money never showed up on my account ledger, so free gift from a broken ATM. I was a kid and I always checked payphones for change. One time in a grocery store this phone had a significant amount of change in it. I think it was 65 cents in dimes and nickels. I picked up the phone and hung it up and more change came out. I kept emptying the change slot and hanging up the phone. I got maybe $5 out of it in assorted change before mom noticed something was wrong and made me turn it in. Sad face. When my nephew was young, like 1, he was eating and my sister told me to give him a spoon. I tossed him a plastic spoon, it landed correctly in his hand, and he used it to eat like it had been there the whole time. Didn't even slow down. I looked at my dad and said, "Tell me you saw that." Well, did he see it? No, he was too busy stabbing his own eyeballs with an olive fork.
When I was a 14-year-old and a pretty douchey person, I found out one of my friends was going door to door selling chocolates to raise money for her netball team. I convinced her to double the prices on the chocolates, and we went door knocking and actually sold them all. We gave her netball team the amount of money we were supposed to make and pocketed the rest with a nice $120 profit. To be fair though, I knew a lot of people who my parents bought and sold weed to from, so I made sure we went to their houses. There was something so pure about the joy they had for us bringing chocolate to their doors.
It's called a hustle, sweetheart. You done hustled real good. I make $200 a day from this. 365 days a year, since I was 12. Sent a Facebook message to a girl I'd kinda disappeared on several years ago. I had just gotten my first teaching job at the time and was so stressed out that I just never got back to her after our first date. Figured I owed her an apology and so I reached out. Now it's been 2.5 years of us together and it's the most successful and healthy relationship I've ever been in. When I was a kid my sister sat in front of me. I held my hamster in front of her toe and said, "Bite." For fun. Well, he did it and it was the first time ever he bit one of us. There was some blood and we were stunned. I guess you could say it was super effective. I grabbed a chunk of roast beef and chewed it a little bit, then tried to swallow. It was too big to swallow. It got stuck in my throat and now I'm choking. Should I mention I was home alone? 'Cause I was home alone. Fuck. After a moment of realizing I was going to die, I just shoved my hand in my mouth, put my fingers down my throat, and grabbed the roast beef chunk and pulled it out. After I calmed down a bit, realizing you're about to die tends to make the adrenaline pump, I said, "I can't believe that worked." Literally, those were the first words I said out loud. To this day, I still can't believe that worked. Like, comment, and share. Reddit Story Topper. Subscribe now.